6:02, and we are going to move on. We don't have anything to report out from closed session, so we're going to continue with our meeting. Let me see here. Okay, this meeting is recorded for live streaming and archiving on our district YouTube channel. Just FYI. Now we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and Amy.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for doing that, Mrs. Hirsch. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
Thank you. Can I get a
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Zeta?
Yes.
Trustee Moss?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Hirsch? Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Wright for some introductions.
Good evening. Preparing for a school year takes a lot of work, and we have people that work over summer to get our facilities prepared, service our students during ESY, and do our child care. So tonight we have Tanya Courtney, Director of Food Nutrition Services, Alfredo Romero, Director of Maintenance and Operations, and Erica Dudley, Director of Early Education and Expanded Learning, to share some of the work that they did over the summer. We really appreciate their efforts. Ms. Courtney is first.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit what we've done this summer. So we, as we served the little kids from preschool, we also served the students that had the summer school for a little bit. And then we also working to install the improved equipment for our department using the KIT fund that we received from the federal and state. So we did install a new walk-in refrigerator at Central Kitchen. Since we can do buildings, we put a cold box inside a dry storage. So the stuff that was in the dry storage, we use our old lunch box, we refurbish and use as a dry storage. So we reuse the equipment. And then we replace, we have 3 units. There are 2 walk-in freezers and 1 walk-in refrigerator. They're about 30 years old. So we were able to buy new doors that they were kind of off center for a while. And we did give them a new equipment on the roof. So new condenser unit, new motors and everything. And then for the middle school, we receive a new combi oven, and that does a combination of a cooking and steaming, so that does give a better quality of the food. And then we will receive one for the high school, hopefully by September, so we are ready for that. And for the Matthew Turner, the kitchen is very tiny, so we have a standalone milk cooler. But she's lacking of space for a refrigerator. There's no space, so we bought a milk cooler to put in a multi-purpose room. And then we converted that milk cooler in a refrigerator for her, which she can now prep the day before and get everything ready for the next day. So I just have a few pictures. That's our new walk-in refrigerator in the central kitchen, but we use basically to save our organic fresh fruit from the farms. So we do pretty much use it for the new recipes or experiment with the kids. Like today we have figs that we put in the line, and the kids were all excited about it. Some of them were not quite sure what was it, but they try out something different. And then there's a picture of the 3 doors, and we replace it and mostly make the equipment work efficient. And then also pictures, cannot go on the roof, so I took from outside. So you can see we have new units there, and way overdue. Instead, they keep putting Band-Aids on the old unit. We find out we're able to. Our next project probably is gonna try to change the box inside, which is old walls and stuff like that, but it's working properly right now. And then there's a picture of the combi over from the middle school, which we'll have one at the high school soon. And I'm excited about that because then we're gonna really be able to start more scratch cooking on that. And then the next one is just a milk cooler for the Joe Henderson. Actually says Joe Henderson, but that's Matthew Turner, okay? And also, in my last page, I want to say I'd like to say a special thank you to Alfredo and to his crew for supporting us with the moving equipment and making sure that everything we receive is working properly. So they did the final inspection for us. Of course, we can't do everything if we don't have partners like that, right? So that's what we did over the summer. And if anybody have any questions?
I just want to thank you for being on top of everything and actually saving money by just replacing doors or getting the new coolers on the roofs. Alfredo was back there, so I'm like talking about him too. I mean, that's really great and it looks great and I'm glad it's cooling properly and we just adore you. I mean, you're so wonderful and your staff as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Mr. Romero.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My slideshow is a little bit bigger, so I'm going to go through this kind of quick. But first, I want to say thank you to Tanya. She's a great partner to work with. What she failed to mention, she fed all the kids all summer long. Her team is just absolutely so kind and excellent, and it's just amazing to see them. Inside her kitchen, it's like a machine, the way they all work together, so it's fantastic. So our summer usually begins with our annual maintenance that we always take care of. Here you see a picture of our scheduled maintenance over our solar panels. That along with our alarms, everything from top to bottom that is a system gets looked at and checked. Our fire extinguishers, all of our plumbing, we try to make sure we get it. Next slide here is our team doing a training. We take advantage of the summer. We got a little bit of time in there to get our mandatory training done. This was done by our insurance company, Keenan. We also use North Bay for other trainings and whatnot. This was to certify our folks on forklift training. California has a record we're probably not proud of, in that we had a fatality, not ourselves, but there was a fatality in the first 15 minutes of new employment. Somebody died in a forklift accident. And so we always try to make sure that we train all of our staff, because we know the equipment that we use doesn't have any feelings. It doesn't know the difference between, if you're digging in a hole or digging on, something worse. So with that, we have a lot of new folks. There was a big shift in our department. We had 6 key members retire, take advantage and take that retirement. With that, there was a lot of training that went in this summer, a lot of hand holding to make sure that all our folks are up to speed. And I take a moment to thank HR for their help with all of the stuff. It was amazing, the job that they took on this summer, the help that they gave us to get those people in the right place. One of the things, as I drove around this past school year, I'm seeing all the signs that are just deteriorating from UV and the rain, and we get that evening fog come in and whatnot. And it got to a point where I was a little bit embarrassed. And so I made this a priority that we were going to make sure that we take care of all of our signs. So we went through, and I'm sure there's some that we missed out there, but we did our best to double check and make sure. Some of it was challenging because we were trying to get the verbiage right. And as you could see, it was difficult on some. You could see in the third picture there, the stop sign that's in the back of the truck. I think you could probably make it out in the new stop sign now, with reflective, the new codes and whatnot. And we did everything the right way. We went with the right height and whatnot, and then even added some new signs. Our friends over in the CDU got their sign in front of their building now, something a little more permanent. Speaking of signs, our principal, Kim Lewis, over at Liberty High School, ordered this sign. It came in over the summer. It sat, and we waited to put it together. We wanted to get it right for her. So last minute, we all got in there and got in there. She is fist bumping her mascot. We put this in here. We didn't want to take pictures of our students that we had helping us this year, but we had 5 students, each one represented at least one of our elementary schools, and they all went through the middle school and are now currently at the high school. And I just want to tip my hat to everyone who has encouraged these students and has helped them and become the people that they are. And I learned that this summer. I was very, very, very impressed with how hard working they were, how honest they were, how punctual they were. I couldn't imagine being 16 or 17 and taking on the amount of work that they took on, and each one of them just represented. And so my hat's off to the principals, the teachers, the aides, the lunch ladies, the custodians at all the site that have helped through your leadership, trickle down, and it's worked. Again, I learned that this summer. I did not know. I thought it was just my kids that were great. And I found out they're not, yeah. And they helped with the obsolete items that we got out. That was one of their first charges. The high school and middle school took advantage of the obsolete list that we put out. The board approved it. Then the hard work began, and they were really good and thorough about what was good and what was not. We were able to make a couple of piles of recyclables and send them on their way. And so they did a really fabulous job. That was just the kickoff of what they did, and it was, again, I was amazed. Our big, I guess, project that we did over the summer was to paint Mary Farmer. And it was the hottest year in California on record. So it was a balancing act of getting our folks out there, maintaining the keeping them safe and staying within the heat illness prevention plan that we have. And so we're early risers, 6 a.m. They're out there painting, not starting any equipment until 7. So it was planning and a very collaborative effort to get the school done. And the next slide, you see the finished product. It was funny. I had a contractor who had worked on our alarms come meet me late in the summer. And I was waiting out in front of Farmer, and he drove up, and I seen him, and he drove, and he made a circle, and he went away. And I was like, where did he go? So I called him. I'm like, hey, man, will something more important come up? And he's like, I'm lost. I'm looking for the school. I said, you were here. I just saw you make a U-turn. And he said, no, I remember Farmer. That's not Farmer. I said, you know what? That is Farmer. Come back. And so he came back. It was pretty good. So I was proud of that. And again, that was collaboration effort between the bond and the maintenance department. Roxanne has done a fabulous job in supporting us. We've tried our best to support her. The collaboration has really been excellent and helps a lot. I think it pushes projects forward and faster, and we see some really good work. My team enjoys working as a team together. They don't get to do that a lot, so when they can see something like this and marvel at it, it just pushes them to continue their work. Another big thing that we did, we put in our gender-neutral bathrooms at each school site. We extended at the middle school and at the high school. We worked really hard with Brianna and Mark at the high school to figure out where this gender-neutral bathroom was. We did actually, I think, 3 or 4 walks before we finally figured out. There is a gender-neutral bathroom near the library. We found another perfect spot, but it was too close to the library. It didn't make sense. So we had to find another spot on the other side of campus to make it more reasonable. It was a dilapidated, abandoned storage little area. And as you can see here in the last picture, they're almost done. It's finished now. I just didn't have a time to insert a picture, but it looks phenomenal. And I know Brianna has a lot of good ideas to help go along with that this year. This is Robert Semple. The PTA partnered with us last year, and they purchased this Gaga pit. We had found a location for it. We were able to squeeze it in this summer. Takes a little bit of work. There's some leveling that has to happen. We had to install the decomposed granite, then build the Gaga pit. Yes. So there they are playing the Gaga pit. So what it is I don't know. To me, it's like a cross between kickball and maybe soccer, handball. So what they do, the kids hold on to the wall. Somebody throws the ball inside, and every bounce they go ga ga go, and on 3 they get to hit the ball towards somebody, and if it hits them below the knee, they're out. If the ball goes outside of the Gaga pit, the person who hits it is out. And so it's like an elimination game. They have one up at Turner, and it's just a line for that all day long, and the kids are very excited. This is actually a picture of, I think, the first grade. They were learning how to play. Mr. Doran was there with them that day. Thank you. No surprise, our water leaks continue. They waited till the end of the summer. Of course, we're scrambling around, and we had 4 water leaks at Matthew Turner in one day. I don't know how it happened. Maybe the ground shifted that day or something, but our team in-house tackled them all. I'm pretty proud of that. Since then, we have another 2 leaks. We've bandaged up just to get us into school, and on the break, we will do a serious major repairs. This is the high school student parking lot in front of the gym. The high school admin had asked for painting of that because the lines in there had faded so much that the kids were having a problem figuring out where they were going to paint it. When I did take a look at it, we had to have some extra work done. We did some dig outs of the asphalt, and then they came in and slurry sealed over it and repainted. This one was behind the baseball and softball fields. There's an access road. All the kids travel to and fro. There was an existing French drain there that got broken, clogged, and because of that, the water that naturally comes out of the hill became a problem and saturated our street there. And that, coupled with the truck that was servicing our porta potties that are out there for the softball, just tore that little road apart. And so we in-house did the work and reestablished that French drain. And then we hired a company to come out and do the paving. We extended the paving out beyond the road just to cover those tripping hazards and slip hazards that are on the hillside. In that last picture you can see there. Again, I drove around the schools and wanted to make sure that we had curb appeal. And I had mentioned that to our crew early on, and they were like, we didn't think you were going to take it literally, Alfredo. But they all got out there, and now you can see where you're supposed to park and whatnot. Part of the problem we were seeing was a lot of tire marks on like those curb areas there where you couldn't distinguish between the road and the curb, and now we haven't seen really any of that so far. So we feel pretty good about that. Again, another collaboration here. Matthew Turner PTG approached us last year and wanted to revamp the teacher lounge. And so this is Lisa Author, one of our employees, and she's that salmon colored sink top was just driving everybody crazy. To pay for a new one was just one thing leads to another. You have to change the sink and then this and that. And so we decided to coat it, and she has a lot of experience with that. We were able to do that for pennies on the dollar, really. And there's the finished product, as you see. So, are they? Yeah. Yeah, it was a very collaborative effort. I worked a lot with their PTG. They're fantastic for sure. And there at Matthew Turner, it was necessary to put in a new TK, no restroom in the room. We took an old closet and dug down according to our plans to tap into the existing plumbing. Wasn't there. So that middle picture is what we had to do, run another additional 25 feet out to establish our plumbing lines. It took our schedule way off schedule in order to accomplish that. And so hats off to those TK teachers that were unable to get in those classrooms, into that classroom particularly. But she hung in there with us, and as you see there, we got a little TK guy going, oh no, that's Steven Slater. Sorry. And then again, thanks to Tanya, what her work has done, as you know, really her investment in that. As she said, we were band-aiding and putting, you know, little fixes on some old equipment, and now that she's revamped that, it frees up our guys to do some of the bigger work that they can get into, including, well, our electricians are our HVAC, and they do the refrigeration. So now they got a chance to focus on all the LED lighting project that we have in collaboration with the bond. In new floors, we had attempted to do all the new all new floors in the classrooms at Robert Semple. There was a last minute shift to bring summer school to Semple, so we were only able to do classrooms 1 through 5 this year, and the plan is to next year do the remaining classrooms. In the next slide, you'll see the finished product there. It's just absolutely amazing. Yeah. And then, you know, there's always our playgrounds. We're trying to keep them safe and whatnot, refurbish them. We put in a new slide that had failed. We've got a climbing rope that we had to put in, and every year we refresh the bark. And that is a bubble wrap, as they say. That was not my idea. We have a new office manager who put that in for us. So thanks to Cindy Bogart for that.
Thank you for all
Thank
the
you,
great work.
Mr.
Thank you.
Romero.
Really well done, man.
And Miss Dudley.
Hello, thank you, Board President Zeta, Superintendent Dr. Wright, and all the fellow board members for having me. I'm excited to share. I'm Erica Dudley, the Director of our Early Education, Expanded Learning, and Adult Education Program. And I'm excited to share about our summer camp and ELOP programs we had over the summer. We had a successful summer. We had a dynamic and engaging summer program that was designed to provide kids with academic enrichment, but also expanded learning opportunities using our community partners. We had assemblies, we had field trips. And so the program ran for 8 weeks total. We started June 10th, right after the last day of school, and went all the way to August 2nd. And we had students all the way from TK to 6th grade in our program, and we had it at Robert Semple. And hats off to Tanya and Alfredo for helping us get there. His team really helped us move a lot of stuff to make not only our summer camps, but also preschool programs function at Semple, and then also Tanya for feeding our students. So during the month of June, we had a mix of our summer camp students and ELOP because we offer additional 30 days to our ELOP students. So ELOP is the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program. It provides that after-school enrichment to make that 9-hour day, and that's funded through a new state mandate for students who are homeless, foster youth, free and reduced lunch eligible, and are multilingual learners. And so that population was able to come during the month of June, and we had high dosage tutoring with our certificated teachers on staff who came from all various different elementary schools around our district. They had a focus of ELA and math. And then we also had our community partners. So in the pictures, we have Innovative Health, which focused on cooking. We had our Code Bee, which did coding projects. That's a little robot that followed the lines the kids drew, and they had different colors that made them do different things. STEAM with Soaring Phoenix, they had a lot of fun science activities with them.
athletics with Air Blair, and then also we had a whole dance show, Michael Jackson themed, on the last day with Moves Dance. All the partners kind of combined to this like culminating event at the end of June for families to come and experience some of those activities. So they watched the dance, they able to interact with a cooking activity, they played games with the Air Blair. So they kind of got to go around in stations to the different thing. And our wonderful ELOP specialist barbecued for all the families as well. So Michael Robinson did that. And we also had a couple of assemblies there. We had a magic show, and then we also had a another person come out and talk about cyberbullying. So great opportunities for those kids. And then we continued on in July and into August with field trips. We went to lots of different excursions to give them some of that hands-on experiences, or kind of a focus around transportation was a theme that we used. And so they went to the Black Hawk Museum in was it Danville? I think it's Danville.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, that museum is amazing. If you've never been, take a trip. It's absolutely amazing. I did not even know that existed. Pacific Coast Air Museum in Santa Rosa, the California State Railroad Museum, Rush Ranch. We went to the movies, saw Despicable Me, the new one, and then also a River Cats game. And so it was a great way to end the summer. And then we all ended the summer actually at our last field trip to Big Slide Park, Community Park, where we had another barbecue with all the students. And we went swimming every Friday. And so it was just a lot of fun. And so we just are already planning for the next summer. Overall, we had about 150 students enrolled in summer, and 35% of those were ELOP students. We had tons of staff, lots of student workers. The student workers are amazing, just like Alfredo said. They are really amazing, and they still want to continue to work with us and get that job experience. And yeah, lots of our ELOP staff, and just hoping to expand next summer to more opportunities, more of the community partners work, more academic growth for the students. And right now we have about 500 students enrolled in our after school programs. So
Wow.
we're really packed. We're a packed house. And that's TK to 6th grade. So we're at the middle school and every elementary school. Yeah, so thank you for your continued support of our programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Wright, isn't it your report?
Yep. All right, good evening. It's been a great start to the school year. We're in our first week. I got to tell you, the energy, it feels amazing this year. I would say it's a year of transition, starting with hiring approximately 50 new staff members joining our district, 2 of which are sitting at the dais with us today. So I want to officially welcome them. Dr. Pat Jennings and Trudy, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and Trudy Barrington, who's our CBO. So welcome. I have to say that's been outstanding working with you thus far. I mean, they hit the ground running and haven't missed a beat yet. So thank you and welcome to the team. The opening of school, you just heard from our M&O Director, Food and Nutrition, and also, I'm looking, Food Nutrition, and I'm sorry, CDU. And Bruce Lambert, our Director of Technology, couldn't make it today, but I do want to highlight some of the work that he's done because they did an amazing job this summer. If you recall last year, we have a new district website. This year, our technology department implemented a new website at all the school sites, so it aligns with the district, and they look amazing if you haven't had an opportunity to look at them. Obviously, they do the cybersecurity during the summer, and they refurbish all the student Chromebooks and get them ready to go for the school year. Yesterday at our admin council meeting, we had an opportunity to look at our new camera systems, which are in effect. So I want to thank all the taxpayers that supported Measure C because they're outstanding camera systems. And I know that Principal Kleinschmidt had an opportunity to utilize it today. And I don't want to spoil alert, but I'm going to encourage them to come to our next board meeting to do a presentation so you could take a look at it. They're amazing. Yeah, very good systems. This summer, we did some strategic planning. It's a 3-day event. We had 60 individuals participate in the first day. that consisted of administrators, classified and certificated staff members, and also community members. And as a result, we have a draft vision statement, mission statement. We have prioritized objectives and also matrix to measure them. And we'll bring them to the board on September 5th for your review and approval. And the staff orientation, I mentioned a little while ago that we welcome 50 staff members. I want to thank Dr. Jennings. It was a different format this year. It was very engaging. The new employees had an opportunity to do a scavenger hunt to meet the people in the district office. And then we took them in our vans and we went on a tour around the campuses. So then they got to meet the administrators and also the office managers at their sites and see the campus. So it was an amazing event. And professional learning day. So the energy, the positive energy just continued through. So we went on to the professional learning day. I want to thank Stephanie Rice in the Ed Services Department for putting that together. We focused on community building and advisory, curriculum support. We adopted new curriculum, so our teachers were engaging with open court, attendance protocols, and also toileting procedures for TK. So. And yeah, and that's a big one, right?
Yes,
and,
it is.
And it's Michelle DeLello, our school nurse, has been working on that all spring and putting that together with her team, and they're able to roll it out. We looked at our survey, 88% of our respondents, we rated it a 4 or 5, so it was very highly rated. We've also been busy with implementing new policies. So if you recall last spring, we worked on our field trip, our volunteer and communications policies. So right now we're in the implementation stages, working with staff, communicated a little bit with the community, but we're in the process of putting some of the documents through Inform K-12 for our official launch. But right now we have a soft launch in terms of administrators and staff are aware of the new protocols. So we're very excited about that. And I mentioned Inform K-12, which is the paperless routing of forms and systems. So that's going well. We have the soft launch. We started with the business office. Right now, our timesheets, employee reimbursements, provided the training schedules are all in Inform K-12. So we're very excited about implementing that process as well. So it's been a very busy week. And again, it's just been a time of transition with new staff and getting to know each other and working well as a team. And it's also been an opportunity for us to start implementing the work that we've been working on all spring. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. It brings us to board reports, and if there's anybody that would like to share. Okay, thank you.
Yes, very briefly. So I have a couple of meetings that are coming up. One of them is because I sit on one of our subcommittees, which is the CAP event, well, not event, but the CAP group. And so that's the community advisory panel through Valero. So our meeting is on the 27th, but I just wanted to share that the city right now is looking at an ISO, which is an industrial ordinance and safety ordinance. And so it's important that community members, so parents, to really take a look at this document. It's on the city's website because they actually want input from community members because they're gonna make a decision about what's gonna happen with the safety ordinance. So I believe the deadline is Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. So most folks have probably already heard about it because it's been a topic at the city council, but since I sit on this community advisory panel, I wanted to make sure that I share that. So that you have an opportunity. And then for next week, I was invited to sit on a panel it's a youth summit. So I'll be on the panel talking to our youth that are here in Benicia and then also Vallejo. So it's sponsored by the city of Vallejo, but Benicia Public Library and the Kyle Highland Foundation. So looking forward to that. And then I'll share an update after that happens. So that's it.
That's awesome.
Also, just briefly, you and I and Trustee Grubbs attended the third day of the visioning workshop, and you may have stuff to add on that, but I thought it was a great opportunity and wanted to thank the district for putting that together. I think that it was hard work. It was a long day, and it was hard work and hard decisions, and I felt very fortunate to be part of that process. So we'll see the fruits of that labor in a couple weeks. And also just a shout out to our middle school and high school teams. The
the PTAs and other community members have been concerned about transitions. So the transition from elementary to middle and then middle to high school. And I had 2 kids transitioning this year. And both received very warm welcomes at their new sites at the middle school through the web program. I think it's where everyone belongs. Yes. I always want to say we belong, but it's where everyone belongs. The kids were assigned to an 8th grade web leader who called them all on the phone the night before orientation, which was really cool. And, my son's conversation was 30 seconds because, oh no, I have no questions, bye. But he was so excited to have gotten that warm welcome. And then at the high school, when I dropped my son off, it was really touching. There was a huge line of older kids in yellow t-shirts standing in front of the school, and they extended almost down to the gym. And they were down there and they were cheering and clapping and waving as everybody drove their 9th grader up and dropped them off.
Nice.
And it was really cool. And so thank you for that. It was a very warm welcome. So I loved seeing that and making those transitions a little bit smoother.
That sounds like it was a lot of fun that first day, right? To be young again. And, I don't have a lot to add to what Mrs. Hirsch said. We really enjoyed the opportunity to be part of that 3rd day session, and it was hard work and making decisions on what should be and what shouldn't be and back and forth, and we had to move cards all over the place. It was really good. The company that we hired to help us with that did a great job. So thank you for arranging that and to have that during summer and all the families and other people that attended to make it happen. So thank you. And also, I failed to say at the beginning that welcome back, students. Welcome back, teachers. It's the 24-25 school year, and we are so glad that you're here. It's going to be a good year. So let's leave it at that. And I'm going to go to the next item on the agenda, which are comments from the members of the public. All functions of the board meeting, including public comments, will take place in person. Members of the public may address the board at a regular meeting on any item within the board's jurisdiction. Speaker cards are available on the entrance table. Please note the item you wish to speak to and submit a card to the board secretary. The board president will call all the open session general comments during the public comment item. Comments for items on the agenda will be called during the specific item. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, or the board may limit the total time to 20 minutes, which will be on the timer on that subject. By law, no action may be taken on any item raised during the public comment period, and matters may be referred to staff for placement on a future agenda of the governing board. Please be reminded to keep your comments respectful, as students may be watching the meeting. So with that, I would like to know if I can get a motion to approve the consent calendar as written.
We have
Oh, what?
a card.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have you right here. I'm sorry. Julia Hahn, welcome.
Hello. Thank you all for listening. Okay. So I have spoken before this board before on this topic. So I have had meetings on this topic, and yet still I find that the response to a sexual abuse allegation within this district is lackluster and freaking underwhelming. You guys have sat up here blank-faced while I tell you that I worry about the safety of my children. And the implementations of whatever plans you're doing, the field trips, the volunteers, the sports, I don't even know how that addresses what we were talking, what was laid out in the lawsuit, but that's beside the point. Either the policies were bad and need to be changed, or the people were not following the policies, and the people need to be changed. So from where I am sitting, the people haven't changed. And policies, not really changing as far as I can tell. And yeah, we have some checklists. Okay, cool. Like, do you understand how seeing that a checklist is your response is something that has me, quite frankly, terrified? So I need you guys to be feeling a lot more empathy for parents and understand that this is not something that you can just say, oh, we'll deal with it in a year. Because quite frankly, this man ended up as a vice principal at another school after being a teacher. So either he was recommended by his administration, or somehow this other school decided to promote him for no reason with absolutely no recommendation from his bosses. And tell me how that makes sense. Tell me how it makes sense that his boss is now back in her position. Tell me how that makes sense. That the person that was in charge of making sure that these kids stay safe, she's back there. Yeah, sure, you had independent auditor, so it wasn't her. Where is the problem? Because I am seeing that you guys don't see that there's a problem. And I am seeing a problem going, am I taking crazy pills? So I need you guys to understand this is a problem and you need to do something. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. We are now going to move on to the consent calendar. So background information on those items. These items were provided to the board prior to the meeting, and a common motion takes place without discussion on roll call vote unless discussion of the items is requested by a board member. So may I get an approval of the consent calendar as written?
I move that we approve the consent calendar as written.
Thank you. May I get a second? Who wants to second? Okay, thank you. And roll call, please.
President Zeta,
Yes?
Trustee Moss, Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and now we are excited to have Dr. Jennings introduce a new member of our team.
I'm sorry, we need to do a roll call on the resolution. F.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pull out resolution number 242502, the declaration of obsolete property. Can I get roll call, please?
President Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Moss. Yes. Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I go back a page. Dr. Jennings, you're up.
Thank you, President Zeta. It is with tremendous pleasure and enthusiasm that we introduce and welcome Jacob Smith as the new Vice Principal of Benicia High School. Mr. Smith joined us joined our district from Fairfield Sassoon Unified School District, where he served as a special education teacher at Armio High School. Mr. Smith earned a Bachelor's of Arts degree from San Diego State University with a double major in Spanish and English. He earned a master's degree in Spanish from Sonoma State and an administrative credential from Thoreau University. Mr. Smith feels passionate about equity, improving literacy outcomes, empowering students with disabilities, and being a servant leader. He believes it enables him to build positive relationships with students, staff, and families, and foster a supportive and collaborative environment. He exemplifies student-first leadership, creative problem-solving, collaboration, and lifelong learning. His former principal, John McMorris at Armio, stated that in his 37 years in public education, Jake is the finest educator I have worked with. He is both, these are his words, he is both a phenomenal teacher and a natural administrator with strong judgment and unwavering dedication to student learning and success, a powerful motivator, and most importantly, a wonderful person. Principal McMorris went on to state that Jake's energy, intelligence, charisma, and dedication to teaching and learning grab you in the first moments in your conversations with him. We are thrilled to welcome Jacob Smith. Thank you for joining the BUSD community. Would you like to come up and say a few words?
Thank you. High expectations and high support have been the thesis statement of my first few weeks with Benicia Unified School District. The tone was set by Dr. Wright, leaving frankly not a dry eye in the house at Benicia High School. Everyone left leaving our professional learning day feeling motivated and inspired. I consider it a privilege to be joining this team. As a resident of this community with children who are in our school system, I have skin in the game. And as I told our fearless leader, Principal Kleinschmidt and Dr. Beatson in my initial interview, I hope you, when they were asking me about my eligibility for the position, I said, well, when you consider me, I hope you think of me as a long-term candidate for this position because I see myself here for the long haul. And I want to extend my warmest gratitude to the board, to our leadership for this opportunity. And I hope to live up to such high praise, but I can promise you my heart and head are in the right place, and I will show up every day and try my absolute best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. That was great. Awesome. All right. We're going to move on to item 12, which are our presentations and communication and informational items. And I'm going to introduce Ms. Trudy Barrington, who is our new CBO. Please take the floor.
I'm going to attempt to advance this on my own, so we'll see how this goes. If not, Georgina's going to take over. Good evening, Governing Board and Dr. Wright. Tonight, I'd like to give you a update on our district budget as it relates to the state adopted budget. So at this time, our budget is an annual cycle that we have. And the last report brought to you was in June, and that's when you adopted the budget. But you had to adopt the budget before the state adopted the budget. So you were compliant by July 1st, the budget was adopted, and now here we are in August in our cycle where a 45-day revise is being brought to you. You'll see that this slide, you'll see it every time I present unless you tell me otherwise, because it's important to note all the different times that we bring reports to the board and to the public and the different items going on. So the legal requirements of a 45-day revise is the budget has to be adopted by the state by July 1st. 45 days after the adoption, the district must hear a report on the impact to the revenues and the expenditures of what was adopted in the budget. The state adopted their budget on June 26th, which made the 45-day revise due by August 10th. That was moved to the 12th because of the weekend, and you're hearing the report tonight, but this presentation was available to the public by the 12th. Within the state adopted budget, there weren't many changes, and that's kind of unique for this year. If you remember a year ago, there were some changes, major revenue changes to what the district had already received. This year, though, what came out during the May revise stayed in the budget that was adopted. So COLA stayed at the 1.07%. The only changes, and there's really only two that impact us, is the state adopted different lottery rates. So what was available to the district to build into the budget in May was lower than what was actually adopted. So there's an increase in our lottery rates that we'll receive, and we are funded based on ADA. So we'll receive lottery funding per ADA based on last year's ADA. And so those increases will be on the unrestricted side, which is our general fund, and on the restricted side, which supports our books, both electronic and physical. The other change in the state adopted budget that impacts us is due to the state's economic situation, they put a deferral in the budget, which simply means our June payment of our largest revenue source, our local control funding formula, will not actually come to the district in the month of June. It will come to the district in the month of July, but we're required by the state to recognize it as though we received it in June. It's just kind of moving cash from one month to the other on their end so that they can meet, and the state's end so they can meet their budget. We have sufficient cash to be able to meet our requirements in the month of June, but we won't actually receive the cash we should have in June until July. It's fortunate it's only 1 month. A few years back, the state did it differently. They did deferrals from February through June, and the district could have been impacted more significantly. So far, this is good news that it's only one month of deferral. But I just wanted to highlight that in case more comes up for the next year, because the state is still in this budget situation. Okay. And these are the only two things that truly impacted our district's budget as far as what the state adopted. Since there weren't more, and I think it's important to note what the difference in our district, because we talk a lot about enrollment, and we talk a lot about ADA, and we talk about how things are funded by ADA, not by enrollment. So I put this chart together just so you could see over time what our enrollment is, and that's that blue line, and it's going from 1920, which was pre-pandemic, to now. You can see that we have had a significant decline in our overall enrollment in the district, and that enrollment is kind of flattened out. And this slide is based on the numbers that were in the budget when the budget was adopted. This will get revised as we know our actual enrollment in the school year this year, but school's only been in session for 3 days so far. So that blue line is our actual enrollment, and we have to staff based on enrollment, not based on how many kids actually show up. So that's important. We don't get funded on enrollment, we get funded on ADA, but we have to be ready for each kid that's enrolled. Yes. The gray line is what we're actually funded for, and the orange line is how our students actually show up. So the orange line is our actual daily ADA that's calculated. And if we were funded on that, you could see how volatile our funding would be, especially in the 22-23 year with enrollment compared to our actual attendance. The district has worked very hard in last year, the 23-24 year, to increase the actual attendance of our students. So we're closer to our enrollment line. And then you see in 24-25, the gray line hits the orange line. So what that means is we believe in this current year, our students will be attending at a greater rate than they were previously, and that we will be funded on what's actually occurring this year. Should that change and that actual orange line drop, then we would be funded based on either the prior year if it's higher than what's current, or the prior 3 years. And that's kind of the state's protection, so you're not shocked because you have already adopted your budget, you're already paying your bills, you cannot modify your staffing. You have to be able to serve all the students you have. So the ed services and student services departments are working really hard on attendance. And we will see that at each budget interim that's presented, how that's impacting our actual revenue. Are there any questions on that? Because I know sometimes, sorry?
I just wanted to ask a question about the enrollment. It looks like we were right around 4,700. Right now we're staying flat right around, it looks like I can't really see that, 4,400? How are we able to stay flat?
Are we able to stay flat? As far as enrollment staying flat, that's really based on the birth rates within Benicia for our actual staff that live here, not staff, our families that live here, as well as the acceptance of IDAs from surrounding districts for our kids to come in. And so we project flat, hope we stay flat. As of today, we're a little lower, but today's not the last day that we'll know how our enrollment's doing. But that is something that I am really watching, because what you don't want is a budget of enrollment greater than you actually have, because it's an impact. And so we've been talking about every kid is roughly $14,000. So if 4,400 kids are in our budget, but we only see 4,300, that has to be adjusted, and we have to take that into account, because that's revenue we won't realize. And not just the enrollment, it's the enrollment and then how often they come to school, because we're funded on how often they're actually at school. So 94% attendance is what is in the budget, which does mean 6% of the time our students are not expected to be at school. And I know that there are goals to have that higher, so we mitigate learning loss. Okay, so what are our next steps as far as the budget? The business office is actively closing out the 23-24 year. So the year ended June 30th, but then we have to do all the closeout of all of our various funds. We have to have that done and submitted to the Solano County Office of Ed around September 15th. And so at the second meeting in September, you'll receive a report about our unaudited actuals, like what actually occurred as far as expenditures, what our actual ending balances are, and then the impact that that's had on the reserves. We're also monitoring and updating enrollment daily, and then that will begin to impact our ADA projections of where we believe our funding will go. No matter what, if our ADA is lower this year, we're protected against last year. But we always have to take into account, having looked at that slide, that the ADA last year was greater than the ADA in 22-23, but that 3-year average that the district has been realizing, that higher 2019-20, that high number is no longer in the multiplier. Yeah. So now the prior 3 years are those lower numbers, but that it is protection if we were to be lower. But the hope is that that's not what we're at. And then the final thing is the next time you'll see a larger report on the district budget is at first interim. So that'll be our expenditures and revenues through October 31st with a report to you at the December meeting. So at that, are there any additional questions about where we're at with the budget at this time?
I would like to thank you, and I would like to thank you for this chart that you put in our packet, that little wheel, the annual budget cycle. It's good information to have. This was really, really good. And I hope our ADA goes up. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up, Dr. Beatson.
Good evening. My quick report tonight is just an update on the state local indicators. Every year, our district needs to report to you on the 8 priority indicators. That's usually done in conjunction. I shouldn't say usually, it's always done in conjunction with the adoption of the LCAP when we talk about our CASP scores, our suspension scores. All of those are priority areas for the state that we have to report on, and we put into the information in the dashboard. This year, one of them was not available, and that was the assignment monitoring outcomes for teachers. And so really they look at teacher assignments and misassignments, and that's one of the priority 1 indicators that comes through on the data quest. That information wasn't available at that time, and so we got an email from the State Department saying it's now available for the 22-23 school year. So this data is a couple of years old at this point, and we are required to bring it to you just to give you an update that in the 22-23 school year, 90.7% of our teachers were totally aligned in their positions. We had some that were on short-term emergency credentials, and so those get kind of taken away from that. But this is a report just to let you know that in that school year, on priority 1, we had 90.7% of our students properly assigned. I'm glad you asked that question because I had to look that up myself. And that means those are teachers that were on those emergency credentials. And so they were on a provisional internship permit, a short-term staff permit, a variable waiver. So that's how they categorize them. Incomplete says they were missing or incorrect information about the assignment in CalPAD. So it was a data piece.
So is that different from what's reported for the Williams report? So because I know there's a section about teacher assignment. So is this now a completely different? Is it different than that?
It's part of Williams, but
Because our Williams indicated that we didn't have anything wrong in our Williams reports.
well, and Williams is also do we have complaints? Because they're usually around complaints around that. So this is
But it's also teacher assignment. So
teacher
I
assignments,
know that you
right?
have to have, only because I ran the,
Right.
the Williams visits for the county office. So I know it has to be, all the teachers, have to be assigned and that type of thing. So I was just wondering if this was different, like if they've created something that's a little bit
I
different.
think it is.
Not-
This is because it's more in-depth than I think what happens with the Williams.
Okay.
From what I can tell. This
I-
is the first time we've ever had to report this way.
Mhm.
So it was new to me as I looked
Okay.
through all that information. If I find any more out, I will definitely let you know.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
And I can add a little bit to that. It actually is like, it is different from Williams. Williams means that they have some kind of appropriate credential that allows them to teach. And for this particular report, they're actually looking at the kind of credential or permit. And yes, yes.
Thank you very much for your report. Appreciate it. So we're going to move on to our action item. Oh, I should have looked at you instead. I was looking at Trudy and not Leslie. Sorry. Thank you for your report. All right, we're going to move on to item 13, which are our action items. And Dr. Jennings, I believe you're up on the first one.
Yes, thank you, President Zeta. This item, in the personnel action list that you approved earlier tonight, you saw the retirement of Charles Bickle, I think is how you say his last name, and he was the accounting supervisor. And so looking at this as an opportunity to update the job description for that particular position and rename it as a business services manager better reflects what the needs are of the business department and sort of the functions that need to be provided by this particular person. So this will be a position, once approved by you, that will be posted to replace the accounting supervisor.
And I just want to clarify that there's no additional expense with the change of the title. So y'all
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, the salary stays the same.
Okay.
The salary is the same.
All right, so then, does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the business services manager position job description?
I move that we approve the business services manager position job description.
Thank you,
And I'll second.
thank you. Roll call?
President Zeta?
Yes,
Trustee Moss? Yes. Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Hirsch? Yes. Thank you.
thank you. All right, Dr. Jennings, you're up again.
Thank you again. This item is the consideration of approval of the certificated pay schedule. Every year, we put forth a increase in substitute pay based on just the being competitive in the local area. And every year it expires at the end of the school year, and it has to come before the board for us to maintain the higher pay rates that went into effect after, like during the pandemic. So, and so every year we'll bring this forward as it is relevant. So hopefully someday we won't have to.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions regarding that?
It's the same rates as last year, right? Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, so can I get a motion for approval, of certificated substitute pay, the pay schedule?
I move that we approve the certificated substitute pay schedule.
Thank you. May I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Zeta?
Yes.
Trustee Moss? Yes. Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Hirsch? Yes. Thank you.
We're in C, okay. You're back up.
Yes, thank you again. This last item is in regards to our classified substitutes. And this is to have the classified substitute salary schedule reflect the 1.07% increase that was part of the classified bargaining units agreement. And typically our classified substitutes get paid on the first pay range, the first step. And so it has to align with our classified salary schedule. So that's what this item is for.
All right, are there any questions? No? All right, so can I get a motion, please?
I'll move that we approve the tentative, wait a minute, the tentative agreement? That's the wrong one. I'll move that we approve the classified substitute pay schedule.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Ms. Martinez.
President Zeta,
Yes.
Trustee Moss? Yes. Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Hirsch?
Yes.
All right, this brings us to the end of our meeting. It is 7:06, and our next meeting is Thursday, September 5th. Hope to see you here. Bye.